Well, thanks for joining me in my shop here. I'm going to carry on now with the FM alignment of this receiver. And for crying out loud, it's been so long, I can't even remember if I actually did this alignment a few weeks ago or not, but it won't matter. I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to be attempting to utilize the oscilloscope in doing this, but mostly I'll be using instruments, this guy and this guy back here, to do the alignment using just indicating meters to do it. So, hey, check this out. I got a nice long shot of my shop here that, in fact, I'm going to appear in it a little bit. And let's fire up all the equipment here. We'll run through it. First of all, the output meter. Secondly, my meter, which is buried in behind here. Okay, that's going to be reading a negative voltage, so I have it on negative. So as the meter goes upscale, it's actually reading negative. Okay, we'll be using this signal generator and the frequency counter that goes with it. I'll be using this as a marker generator, or across my fingers. I'm going to try to use it as a marker generator. And then up here we have the FM signal generator, or the wobulator, I could call it, for all the British viewers. And of course I've got the receiver itself. Now I've got all these wires connected into it here already. So I've made all the connections prior to starting the video. So the oscilloscope's connected, the meter back here is connected, the output meter is connected. I think all that's left to do now is switch on the actual receiver here, and we'll see what happens next. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to hear the signal from the wobulator. I'll just, while we're still setting up equipment, I'll just switch this over to a 400 hertz tone. Put this on full voltage. Now, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you know I never appear in them, but in order to do this cable shot, I'm afraid you're going to have to put up with seeing me a little bit. But I think the broader shot will give you a better perspective on where things are in my shop, and maybe even make you realize how small this shop really is. It's pretty tiny. Okay, let's see what we got going here. There we are. There's the tone. Okay, so let's just run through the equipment here and see what's working. Let's see the output meter. Something's not quite right. It's usually that's usually how all this usually starts. But turns out something's not quite right. You can see the meter jumping up and down. You can hear the tone getting stronger and weaker. And it's kind of a sudden effect there. It seems to be a little more stable now. Okay, now back on this meter, you can see a reading. This is a very small voltage. This is a 1.5 volts full scale, so that's about 0.7 volts negative there. Okay, so this is connected to the FM AVC, which I was a little surprised to find in the radio, but there is such a thing. It really, I think it's controlling the limiter just before the detector. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the circuit diagram again. Okay, you can see these numbers jumping all over the place. That's because the signal level coming to my frequency counter is a little too low for the counter to work. fix that up pretty easily, really. There we are. So right now we're dialed in at 11 megahertz for no real reason. It really should be around 10.7. And then if we look just a little bit higher up, a little hard to see in this shot. The signal you're hearing, the tone you're hearing, is moving the FM signal, which is around 100 megahertz, back and forth by about 20 kilocycles, about that. We can put it up to 50. 75 is basically, I think, what a regular FM station is doing. A commercial FM station is moving the signal 75 kilohertz up and down from the broadcast frequency. So I think. So we'll set it somewhere in the middle here for now. We'll be using the wobulator eventually anyway. Okay, so I think everything's ready. Did we just take a peek at this meter and see it go up and down when I change the... Yeah, we're definitely listening to the output there. You notice the one in the back isn't moving, but if I tune the signal generator here, if I tune it, not much movement. Oh, a tiny little bit. Watching this meter back here. Not quite what I would expect. Something I'm noticing is when this meter is showing the highest negative voltage, which would be the highest AVC voltage, the tone we're hearing actually drops right out. Right in there. So I'm curious about that. It's as if when you tune the radio right in on the money, the signal becomes crappy. I'm kind of curious about that. The last FM radio was doing exactly the same thing. But if you were to tune by ear, you would tune it here. So I'm not too sure what to make of that. So a couple things there have got me a little concerned about proceeding. But maybe as we proceed, things will clean up. Now, what's going on the scope here? Let's take a look at what's going on there. So what are we seeing here? I find it difficult. I haven't worked out the camera angles properly or the camera settings properly to really show this. It's much clearer in my own eye. Okay, so what we're looking at right now, I think, is the RF side. I can't remember what I hooked it up to. I think it's the RF side of the detector. Just trying to remind myself here. Right, which I think is pin 7 of the 6AL5. No, I'll take that back. What we're looking at, let me just put this on the screen here for a second. Maybe I can do it right here. I can sharpen the focus there a little bit, can't I? So please bear with me here. We're having technical difficulties. Do you remember when you were a kid? Watching TV, and regularly things would go wrong, and they just put a little sign up on the screen. Technical difficulties. That's much better. There we go. Good show. Okay, now we can get a good look at this. And my handy dandy pointer here. So the scope is connected to this point right here between these two 100K resistors. And the 200K resistors are basically connected to either plate, and I think I can interpret this as a full wave rectifier arrangement. So in one case the signal comes through like that, the other case the signal comes through like this. And I'm sitting right on this spot here. So the reason I'm connecting the scope is I want to understand these circuits much better And one way is to look at the waveforms that are occurring. As strange as they might be, now that's not terribly strange. And I should also say how I have this connected. I'm not using the internal sweep circuits of the scope. I have just a transformer driving the signal back and forth this way, and the signal coming from the radio is doing the vertical. So 60 cycles back and forth, and the reason for that is, just cut the tone for a moment, switch over to the wobulator mode here, and I'll start causing the FM 100 megacycle signal to swing back and forth at 60 cycles. And all my meters are going wild here, off camera. Turn down the receiver so we're not listening to this. And I'll turn up the wobulator, and you see the weird waveform we've got. Okay, so I don't know how to interpret that exactly. But I'm now going to tune the signal generator across the frequency that we're tuned to. In other words, I'm going to move the 100 megacycles. That looks pretty interesting, doesn't it? You know, if just left to my imagination, I would say that's tuned right there. Like that, but I'm not sure how to interpret that that particular view. It's interesting looking though, isn't it? Let me increase the wobulation. Well, that's pretty much exactly what you want to see when you're looking at an IF type signal. Jump there for some reason. So in other words, that's a little like this thing. Well, we'll see how this goes. Should be interesting. Should be interesting. Okay. Turn it back up a little bit so I don't forget that it's running. We'll go to step one. By the way, I have posted the results of the AM effort, and while I'm collecting comments and getting a little guidance on what I should do about it, I'm just carrying on with the FM side here of the radio. My page is ready here. Okay, so we should be feeding 10.7 megacycles into pin number 1 on V4. And we should not really have the wobulator going at all. Not at this point. So I'm going to turn down the output on the wobulator. Oh, maybe I'll switch it right off. Get it out of the picture. Or I can leave it on, leave it warming up. I'll just tune it way out. So it's no longer being received by the radio. And anything we get now should be due to my connection from this guy here. If I set it to 10.7. Okay, so let me do that. I'm watching this thing now. Turn the radio up here so we can hear the excitement. Here we go. Well, that certainly was exciting. Let's give it a little more juice here. Okay, we'll bring it up past 10.7. Nothing. Wait a minute. don't like that. Looks like something's tuned around 10.7 and something else is tuned around 10.9. That doesn't seem too good. I'll set it to 10.7. VTVM to point G. Maybe I should just double check that before I... Yeah, we're on point G. Tune T4, which is the third FMIF. T4. Okay, we'll spot T4 here. T4. I find it so easy to get these mixed up because the radio is, backwards and upside down from the diagram. I find it easy to get everything mixed up. T4. Okay, so first, second, third FM discriminator. Is that what they're saying T4 is? They don't list a T4 on the diagram here. Here we go, right off the bat. Right off the bat. Oh, T4 is the third FMIF. Okay, now I got it. Very good. At the back of the radio, of course, right next to the discriminator. T4. Okay, I see it. I just have to change the lighting here a little bit so I can see what's up in the radio. So we're watching this meter. And I'm going to try to maximize it. I'm going to work from the top here. Okay, starting in the top slug. I hear it. I certainly don't see it on that on that meter there. Okay, bottom slug. We're at 10.7. 10.7, yep. Okay, bottom slug. It's quite a bit out. Again, I'm hearing it, but I'm not seeing it on the on this meter. Point G, yes, I worked this out, what point G was. Well, you can certainly hear it. Let's pay attention to this guy here. Peek it that way. I'm just about to slide my tool into the wrong. So watching this. Upper and now lower. Wow, let's turn down the signal generator here. I can hear interfering radio coming in. I've turned down my signal generator and that didn't help there. Let's try it this way. 7th. Wow, okay, let's keep tuning. Anytime I see a large variation in the coils like this, it makes me a little nervous. How did they get so far out? I'm watching this. There we go. Wow, big difference. Kind of don't like the big difference. Now the next one is going to be pin 1 on V3, different tube, same signal, it's reading the same point, voltage at the same point. You know, I'm not following the instructions. The instructions are not to listen to the signal. The instructions are to monitor the voltage on this point G here, which doesn't seem to be changing much. Well, let's keep going. I can always undo what I've done if in the end this hasn't worked properly. So I'll have to move the input of the signal generator now to pin 1 on V3. Turn down the output of the signal generator. V3, let's just make sure I know which one's V3. It's usually helpful to get this kind of stuff right. V3, 6BA6, V3, ooh. I've gone silent here. I think I had the input in the wrong spot. Wait a minute, I'm all turned around again. Okay, let me get this straightened out because I'm going to have to muddle over this a little bit.